and I heard the first officer call out. And then the first officer jumps on the radio and he screams, "Holy shit, it's the goat man." And I mean, it's just like everything went quiet. And I could hear the ringing in my ears, and I could feel my heart race. And so I hit my lights and I went flying up there.
I've been told by some older people, elders, that you grab them and you hold them and you don't own them, but you hold them there until daylight. If you can hold them or pull them into the light, it destroys anything they have, any kind of power or anything they were trying to do to you. It'll destroy them.
This guy was like bouncing, like, you know, like how you see people kind of getting ready to jig, you know how they kind of bounce? Yeah, he was like that way. He was just kind of bouncing, and he was just kind of going back and forth from one foot to the other. And he just kind of turned sideways, and he turned back over to the other way, and he took off. Holy shit, he jumped in Wanda.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Lodge Tales, and I'm your host, Rod Williamson. So in this episode, we have our first guest from one of the Sioux tribes, Dakota, and we talk a lot about, toward the end, it's a lot about spirituality and the contrasts between different ways and the native way in general. In this episode, she also talks about a spirit that calls her name. Another story about this white figure that was like featureless. Guess it kind of scared them really bad when they're at a ceremony. They seen it walk by. A story about her dad where a spirit kind of breathes down his neck. Another one where a spirit grabs her head. We kind of talk a little about holy men. This haunted elevator at Flandreau Indian School. And this really creepy spirit at Flandreau where it's a girl spirit, but it walks weird, like on its elbows and stuff. It's a kind of a creepy image. I tell her a story about this alcohol spirit in Chimawa. Then we talk about these tall spirits. She also shares how she got her name. And then, like I said, we talk a lot about spirituality toward the end of it and kind of swap stories about spirituality in general. I also wanted to start this episode off by answering a few questions off of Spotify. And I guess just responding to some comments. So, one of the comments comes from Iron Horse. And he or she was worried about, kind of hesitant to listen to the podcast because they realize that sometimes when you're telling ghost stories or even listening, that things can manifest. You can call those spirits back to you if they've been around you and they went away, or calling them to yourself, like, I guess, new spirits, calling them to you. And Iron Horse, you're not wrong. You're really not. You got to be careful with a lot of this stuff. So I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. How we do it, how I do it, is I'm always, I'll smudge after I hear a lot of these stories, or I'm talking about a lot of these stories. I'll say a quick prayer before I do it, asking for protection, asking for the spirits to take pity on me so that they don't come and bother us. And I have barriers up around my house. It's not uncommon that I pray for the guests for protection as well, so that nothing happens to them, And one of the people I met on TikTok started listening to the podcast, and it happened to her. She started getting spooked and stuff, so that is a definite concern, and I wouldn't blame anybody for not wanting to listen to the show over that. But I also need to state that I kind of take precautions about that, and I am aware of that, but it's also, like Iron Horse said too in the comment, it's important to save stories and to preserve some of these stories. So that's the other avenue as well. And let's see, moving on. Sighound. He asks, when I went to Chemawa Indian school, I went to Chemawa from, let's see, 91 to 95. Yeah, late 91, no, early 92 to 95, because it was the second semester of my freshman year, and then I graduated there. And he asked if I knew Mr. Scott. I didn't know a Mr. Scott when I was there. Nightmare Walking is always commenting in the Spotify comments, saying she's really happy that I've created this podcast because it helps her to reconnect. And, you know, part of my thinking going into this is that as well. Some of us are trying to get back, you know, some of us natives are trying to get back to our old ways, and some just haven't learned it because they've been living off the res too long. And for those of us that have, we're really lucky that we were raised around it. And I see that, and I understand that, and I recognize that. You know, and there's a way to approach reconnecting with your old ways, your traditional ways, and it's all about respect and humility. You never act too pushy or disrespectful, or you don't really ask too many prying questions, because a lot of the stuff the medicine people can't really talk about. And so you just kind of, you know, be really respectful and mind how you conduct yourself around it. And just, I would say, my aunt used to tell me when I'm in a new environment and I don't really know how to conduct myself, she used to always say, just follow the crowd. Just do what other people are doing, and you'll eventually find where you fit in. So that's what I would suggest. And she also commented that I got sponsors. Yeah, I opted into the ad platform on Red Circle, so that helps, generate a little bit of money to pay for these services and stuff. It's really not something that's, I never did plan on getting rich off of doing something like this, because it's more of a hobby of mine, and it's more of something I just take an interest in, and then I'm actually doing it. I have some free time after work sometimes. It's really a busy schedule I have as a subcontractor, but when I do get that time and I'm not too tired and I don't fall asleep in the evening, I start working on the podcast. So that's why it's kind of been hit or miss lately, and for that I apologize, everyone. So without any more messing around, let's get right into the show.
Hi, my name is Nachiomani. I'm from the Ndewa Kanta Wakpa Upakshan tribe from Flandre, South Dakota. And I was raised very traditionally and culturally really into that stuff by my father and mother. We were going to sweats and ceremonies every summer, and throughout the winter too. And then we Sundanced every summer and quarried pipestone every summer. So I was really engaged in that type of life. And so I did hear a lot of stories, and the only two specific examples, two specific things that happened to me that I can't really explain, because being raised in a Christian world, I was still had skepticism, because when I first went to school, it was just kids would tell me no, that didn't happen. So I'm just oh, okay. But one example happened when I was a kid. I was about 7 years old, and my brother told me to go downstairs and grab his earrings.
Mm-hmm.
And I went downstairs, and we used to have a 3-legged pug that lived in the basement on my brother's bottom of his bunk bed.
Uh-huh.
And I got distracted cuddling him and stuff, and out of nowhere, in the corner of the room, a woman's voice, like out of nowhere, said, "Okay, Nagi, time to go to sleep." And when she said that the first time, I couldn't believe my ears, because it was only me and my brother home, and my brother has a really deep voice, and he couldn't like make a noise like that. And she says it again, like calls out my name specifically, and me being a little kid and reacting to that, I immediately just scream, "Shut the hell up," and just start crying, bawling, and running up the stairs.
Oh.
Yeah, I told a Nagi to shut up. It was funny.
Oh.
But the second time, it's really etched into my memory. Like I can specifically see it like right now as I'm talking about it. But we went to Winnebago for a sweat, and the sweat was too small for the children to fit. So like only adults were sweating that night. And it was me, my elder sister, my other sister, or my two other sisters, and then my first cousins. So they're my sisters too.
Mm-hmm.
We're all chilling in my Dewey's car, and I'm sitting in between the legs of my elder sister in the back seat. So I'm sitting on the floor, and we're all chilling, and like the prayer is going on in the background, and so you can hear the sweat, like the music is coming like off in the distance, so that like kind of makes it kind of creepier.
Yeah.
Because we're out in the middle of nowhere, and it's like pitch black, and it's just like the small like from the like the light is only like the distant fire. And I was like about to fall asleep, and then 1 second, everybody in the car just starts screaming, starts like. And then I look up out the window, and I see a white figure pass by the window. And it was only for a split second though, because as soon as I seen the figure, my sister grabbed my head and like jammed my head like further down to the floor so I wouldn't see it. But that split second that I did see that Gigi, like it was scary, because it was just a pale figure with no features. It was just white.
Oh. Did it look humanoid though?
Yeah, it was humanoid, but I just remember like it had like no hair. It was just a white figure. Like it was kind of like an outline, but it had the features of a human.
Weird. And everybody in there seen it obviously, and that's what made them all scream, huh?
Uh-huh. And then as soon as that happened, we all started praying and like crying for like it to leave us alone, and then it finally like left. But that was the longest like wait after like to getting like the sweat done and over with.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy, because sometimes, those bad ones, they don't want you to be around, trying to do good. They want to try to interrupt it, or stuff like that. They don't like that. And sometimes those good ones, they're scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, like the stories he would tell me, like, can I like tell other people's stories?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My dad also told a story of one time when he was 18 and he was living in Sioux City. He was staying in an attic. And he was laying in his bed, and he was facing the wall, so his back was facing the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just starts like getting this creepy feeling, like his hair stands up in the back of his neck, and then he hears like thumping, like getting closer and closer to him, and he like freezes. Like when you get really scared, you just like freeze.
Yeah.
He was all like, okay, I'm not gonna look at it. I'm not gonna, like, I don't want to see it. I know it's scary. Like, I can feel that it's really scary. And then it kept getting closer to him. And then finally he felt like its breath, like on like the back of his like neck. And then that's when he started like praying. and like for it to go away. Like, I'm scared. Like, please leave me alone. And then he went to ceremony like the week following, and he asked the medicine man like what that thing was, and then the medicine man was all like, "You don't want to know. It was like it was really scary. Like you don't want to know. It was really good that you didn't look at it."
Oh. Where did that happen?
Sioux City, Iowa.
Jeez. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, what did he think it was? What was his gut feeling about it?
His gut feeling was it was like a spirit, like a bad spirit.
Yeah, we grew up in a haunted house, basically. I mean, I don't know what else to call it, but so many spirits in that house. Things like that would happen there too. Things coming up behind you or peeking at you in the house. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. We would throw ceremonies in the basement of our house. And like some cool stuff would happen. Like one time, this is also happened when I was really young too, because my father passed away when I was 15, and like we kind of all stopped doing stuff like that after he did that.
yeah.
But I remember we were having ceremony, and the medicine man brought in a spirit to like talk to me, my sister, and my dad. And you know, like at the time it was still like, you know, skepticism.
Yeah.
So like I'm just like still like in the back of my head, like, did this happen? Like, but like it did happen. Like I specifically remember it. But the spirit like came up to me, and you know, like if you don't understand Dakota, you can't understand the spirits. Like it like sounds like a raspy like sound.
Yeah.
And so like I heard that sound, and it grabbed my head, and its hand was so big that like his like the bottom of his hand like touched like my nose, and his fingers like touched the back of my head. Like it engulfs like most of my head.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that ceremony was for, but it was just like that memory of that spirit doing that.
What kind of ceremony was it, if you don't mind me asking? Because I don't really know a lot about the Sioux way.
Well, my father was passing away from cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were just doing like a lot of ceremonies around that time for just like a lot of like specifically for that, but just in general, just healing.
Oh, doctoring. Yeah.
Yeah, doctoring.
Oh. Yeah, some of them spirits they're really powerful. I mean, because I had that too. I had skepticism when I was younger. Because I always say we're not innately born with all of this belief and this knowledge. You know, we're taught by our parents, grandparents, and whoever. You know, we're kind of raised that way. But up to a certain point, you'll always have some doubt until something happens. And it's exactly what happened to me too. I was at a ceremony called a night lodge, and that rattle went right through the wall and hit my elbow a couple times. And I was scared because there was no way that could happen. I was like in the 4th grade. And there was just no way for that. It was impossible. But my dad told me, oh, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. It's all right. And sure enough, you know, that's just their way of blessing you. In our way, when those spirits come with those, they'll take those rattles and they'll use them and they'll bless you, to tap you with them. When I was that small, it scared the heck out of me, though, man. Like, I didn't know what to think. That's what I was saying. Some of them good ones, they scare you, too, because...
Yeah, they think it's funny.
You're not ready for it, too.
Yeah. They think it's funny.
It's funny that you say that. My dad had... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, I remember one time we were in Sweat,
Mm-hmm.
and the spirit talked to the medicine man, and my sister had gauges at the time. You know, like big holes in the ears.
Mm-hmm.
and the spirits were making fun of her. She said, they said, "Wow, I wish I could have big holes in my ears like that so I can hear better."
But like in your guys' like when you guys go to sweat, like so when we go, we're not allowed to bring like jewelry or anything like that in there. That's what that was reminding me of. Are you guys supposed to take all that stuff off too?
Yeah, you're supposed to take jewelry. The thing that they scared us with was like the spirits are gonna come in and rip that off if
Yeah.
you have jewelry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we're told too. They'll rip it out, or sometimes they'll just take it, and you'll never get it back.
Yeah, like rip it out of your ears.
Mm-hmm. Any sort of piercing, just rip it right out of there. Geez, that's odd. I mean, have you ever heard of Chamawa Indian School?
Yes.
Yeah, it's over in Oregon. I went to high school there. See, I went like a half a semester on my res, and then I went to that Indian school in Oregon, and there was
My sister went there.
She went there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty fun when I went. That's where I kind of learned a little bit about the Sioux way, because we used to sweat with I can't remember. I want to say is he Oglala, Lakota, something like that. But he was a pretty powerful guy too. He used to take care of the dorms for us and chase all of those bad ones out of there. But yeah, he had some pretty interesting stories about when he would cleanse out those dorms, and he could see kids that were walking around and they were drinking when you're not supposed to, and this would have been in the early 90s, and he could just see those things around those kids, and he'd go to the dorms and say, "Hey, breathalyze these guys, they're out and about doing stuff they ain't supposed to." Sure enough, they would get caught. That's when he would be there on the weekends. He used to show up sometimes and walk around. Really a funny guy to be around, like happy and like to joke. So he always had like this little following of students that would hang out with him when he'd be around campus. But yeah, he was the real deal.
I love dudes like that. I went to Flandreau boarding school.
Oh, mm-hmm.
That was a pretty scary place.
Yeah, like so was Chamawa. Yeah.
Like all the boarding schools are pretty scary. Oh no, my sister did see like a spirit in the elevator.
In the elevator?
Yeah, because there's it was just well known that if you went into that elevator, that sometimes it'll just drop to the basement and like get you like stuck there. And if you look into the mirror that's in the elevator, you'd see like a girl behind you.
Whoa.
And my sister, she didn't get stuck in the elevator, but she like looked into the mirror and she seen that girl behind her. And
you know where that I take it you rode on that elevator too before?
I only rode it once in my life.
Is there any other things that happen at Flandreau?
There's a whole bunch of like stories attached to dorm rooms. Like in one specific dorm room, there's a girl that walks on her elbows and like upside down, like on her knees. Because the story goes that there was girls trying to throw a sleepover, but they snuck that girl in, but a matron was like making her rounds to go check on the girls, so the girls stuffed that girl that wasn't supposed to be there into a suitcase and sat on it like underneath the bed. And then the matron came in and like was talking to the girls, and like she was like talking to her for a fat minute, and the girl like dies, and like her body is like all like grotesquely disfigured because of like she had to stay in that state for a minute.
Yeah.
Dang. And I tried to one time I tried to ask the girls who were staying in that dorm room if I could go ghost hunting in that dorm room, but they just laughed at me.
Did they ever see like that spirit?
My sister did. My older sister Theresa.
What did they do?
my older sister, she's really strong, like emotionally really strong.
Hmm.
So like it didn't phase her. It she like seen it and she's all like, yeah, like she was there with me in the room, and I was like, that didn't scare you.
Yeah, in Chimawa, there was a lot of things that happened in there. There was this guy. Okay, so he was a matron, and he had given up drinking for, I mean, what do I say, about a year or two he was sober. He had just recently given it up. But he was a matron, kind of an older guy too, and he started working there. One of my friends was really good friends with him, and one night he was telling him, he says, he says, not long ago, he says, I almost fell off. He said, I was in here one night, and I just did my rounds, and I was just sitting in this office and making sure your kids are alright, and I just got this thought in my mind, like, I'm gonna go tie one on after this, I'm gonna go buy some alcohol, and I'm gonna sit there and drink it after I get off work. That's what he was thinking. So anyways, he was getting up to do his rounds again after some time, and downstairs, it's 2 levels in this one dorm, and he's going downstairs, and there's like this old fireplace, but it's not used. Like they don't use the fireplace, but it's still there. Anyways, he's walking by that, and he looks up top where his office is. There's like this handrail and like a little balcony kind of thing up there, and he sees this little person, like this little man, like a little old man, and he was
Like the little people?
yeah, but this one like jumped onto that, jumped off of that balcony kind of onto that fireplace, and he was looking at that matron, and he was saying, oh, he's just laughing and happy. He says, geez, I'm really glad. He says, I've missed you. I'm glad that you're coming back. And that really kind of like upset the matron. He just kept walking around that thing, and that little person jumped down on the ground and was just smiling big at him. He said it looked like a little old man. And
Like a white guy?
I don't know. I don't, just a little man. But he walks up the stairs and leaves it down there. And it doesn't come back around, that I remember in the story. But so he doesn't go and get alcohol. Instead, he goes to that guy I was telling you about, who used to run sweats and stuff like that and cleanse out the dorms. He went to him because he used to sweat like every weekend, or every other weekend, if not every weekend. And I guess he showed up down there, and he told him, he says, yeah, I seen this thing. He says, oh, he says, that's one of those alcohol spirits. He says, it was happy that you were going to come back to them. He says that's what that was one of those alcohol spirits. And I don't know, I mean, it looked like a little person, that's what he said. So, I mean, I think those alcohol spirits can be any shape, not just one. They can look like shadows. They can look like those little people. Heck, they can even look like you or I.
Yeah, no, I think alcohol is like a dangerous, like a bad spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows bad spirits to attach to you. Because, like, one of the main things that it's not taught at schools is that to make indigenous people sign, they would get them really drunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they would sign it, like, unknowingly, like, what they're signing. And then in the 1900s, when eugenics started, and they started calling our spiritual beliefs schizophrenia, like personality disorders, like calling us crazy and stuff.
Yeah.
In the insane asylums, they would prescribe alcohol, like whiskey, to like the natives that were forced to be there.
Oh no.
There's an insane asylum just like 30 miles of like where I grew up, and like I just like heard stories like how scary it is over there, because the whole time it was ran over 300 people were forcibly sent there, and 151 people died. So there's a 50% mortality rate just in that insane asylum alone.
Jeez. What year was that, do you think?
The operations of that insane asylum was to the 1900s to 1930s.
Wow. And those things must have happened all over the place, not just around there, huh?
There's a lot of they would call it they would even advertise these insane asylums as like saying like come see the crazy Indians, because they would do their spiritual practices like out in the front lawn,
Yeah.
and then like they would advertise to like white people and say like look at these crazy Indians.
Oh, that's sad, jeez. Is that building still up? That one you're talking about?
The building is still up, and I do want to like go there.
What would you do? Like, 'cause I never really spoke to any ghost hunters yet. I know what they do, but like, what would your intent be to go there?
I would love, because like my brother tried to do that one time, was ghost hunt.
Yeah.
But I more like I just want to do like a fun thing,
I see what you're saying.
but also go to like indigenous like ghost places to tell of the history and like the stories, and sometimes like the egregious brutality acts that were like put on against us.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that.
Yeah, did you ever hear about the Dakota 38?
No, I haven't.
Well, the Dakota 38 is the largest mass execution the United States government ever did in its history. I'm descended from two of those people that were hung. Like, that's my tribe.
Oh, jeez.
And there's a ride every year to like not celebrate,
Honor them?
Yeah, honor.
Yeah.
But the place itself, like when you get onto that piece of land that they were like murdered on, it's just like the energy.
Must be really heavy there.
Yeah.
No, back home in Browning, there's this place called Ghost Ridge. And, you know, they were supposed to, in order for them to sign over land, the treaty said that they were going to provide food, you know, because the buffalo were all gone by then, and they were going to provide food, rations.
The seller starve.
Yeah, they all it was called Starvation Winter in our tribe, and after that winter there was only about 2,000, roughly 2,000 Blackfeet left total out of the three bands that make up the Confederacy. And there was about maybe 1,500, 1,400 here, and the other two bands in Canada, there was the remainder of that left up there. It was really a bad time, but all along that ridge is where they kind of buried everybody up there, and it's a pretty spooky place. There's a lot of stories around that place. You know, people see a lot of spirits around that area. So I mean, I don't know. I've heard quite a few, like one with this person with a big long face. You know, like that mask, that scream mask. Kind of had like a really long face, like that would be walking. Looked like somebody they know. And they stop to say, "Hey, jump in, we'll give you a ride. It's at night." And they'll look at them and it's got that big long face, and they just get scared and drive off, you know. It's one of the stories, and I mean, there are people that live by it too, that live like right there underneath it. And I always wonder if they have more stories about that place, but yeah, we have something similar like that back home. Basically, you know, they were murdered too. I mean, it was so bad that they were boiling their leather shoes and eating the leather, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really bad.
Okay, like when you mentioned that like tall, lanky guy, it
Mhm.
just like reminded me there was like spirits like in our like my childhood house growing up.
Yeah.
I've personally never seen this dude, but my I have also 8 siblings,
Wow.
but like 4 of them have seen this man, and he's always like in the same spot like sometimes, but like he's in the corner, and he's so tall that his like lower back, oh no, his like upper back is touching the ceiling.
Whoa.
So like he's bent over like in the corner, just like looking at like the people who see him.
Does he have a hat on? Did they mention
I
anything like that?
I think my elder brother mentioned like something with a hat.
Yeah, because you saying that reminds me of something. My daughter, when we stayed, let's see, oh jeez, man, it was like the house before this, like 4 houses ago. That makes sense. My daughter's 16, and in this one that we stayed in, when she was just a little girl, like real small, about 04 maybe, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
about 4, 5. She's seen something just like that, but he had a hat on. He was so tall that, like, when he would look into bedrooms, he'd have to kind of like bend way down. But he was so tall that he had to bend over in those hallways. And he would peek into her room like that. And that's how he would look at her. She told me that once. She said she calls it a hatman.
Mm-hmm.
That's creepy.
The hat man, that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also want to explain my name.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So my name is Nachiomani, and I got that from, oh, it means traveling spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that from my dad when I was 10. Because, have you ever heard of the ceremony Hamblecha?
No, I haven't.
Like going up on the hill? Or like white people say it's, call it a vision quest?
Oh yeah, fasting. Yeah.
Yeah. So my father goes on the hill for my 10th birthday. And I remember like that whole time I was just really praying for him, because I've seen my older brothers, do Hamblecha, but like I was like, this is my dad, yo.
Yeah.
And so I was like praying for him like most of the night. And then when he came down from the hill, he told me that he heard me. And at the time I couldn't say my R's. So like out in the distance he said he heard me like say be brave. Like instead of like saying be brave, I was like saying be babe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so he named me Traveling Spirit. Because he told me that I could come see him after he passed. Like I'm the only one out of the siblings.
Yeah.
And I remember like the day we buried him, I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna like go and see him. And then so I laid down in my bed, and he told me like the way it's just like to relax yourself and just like really focus and just like, like just basically meditate into like the spirit world, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there and I tried to do it, but then my door opened and I got really scared. And so like I was like, I know like I could do it because that's obviously a sign, but like knowing that's really scary.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta be careful when you're doing that. Any sort of meditating like that, you gotta call in your helpers and ask them to protect you. Ask the creator, like, protect me while I'm doing this, and then you do it,
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta call in the protectors first, whatever you want to call them, your helpers or whatever. But even your ancestors, you just ask them for protection to help you while you're doing something like that. Because what happens is you're open. you'll open yourself up and something can attach to you, and it, not necessarily will be a good thing. You just take that chance. So yeah, remember to pray for protection. It's just a simple quick prayer for protection. It's really not that deep. It's just a quick prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that helps.
But that was when I was like 15, and I'm 22 now. So, and I'm just actually now just getting back into this life because the death of my father, that really hit me hard.
Yeah.
And it took me off the path.
Mm-hmm.
But my sister passed away, and then that got me into college. And I went to a native college. And that really just like opened my eyes back to like the red road.
Yeah.
So like I'm really just like getting back into it.
That's good. Jeez. Yeah, because a lot of times people, they'll be trying to reconnect these ones that have never even been raised around it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones of us that have been raised around it, we're really lucky. And a lot of times we don't realize how lucky we are to have been raised around that.
I've just now realized how lucky I was or am to have this childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially with like the interconnectedness like with spirits and like knowing that they're out there and they're real. And also like I really took like the spiritual stuff, like the traditional stuff that my father had for granted. Mm-hmm. Like the rattles, the drums, the flutes, like the stuff to help you with these ceremonies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big part of it all. Those songs, and a lot of times them songs, heck, they're actually taught to those people by the spirits. The spirits will give you a song for depending on which ceremony you're doing. Like say you're doctoring, those spirits that allow you to doctor, they're the ones that teach you those songs. Or if you've had some of that doctoring like passed on to you, like the rights transferred is how we say it. If you had rights transferred to you to use that medicine, well, still, even though you were taught that song by somebody who was passing on that medicine, they if not them, the people that passed it to them were taught by spirits. That's where it comes from. Those songs, they come from those spirits.
I really, yeah. And also the songs that we sing were told to like our ancestors by like ancient spirits. Like it's in the name, like Wakantanka, that like white people just dilute it to say like Holy Spirit, but no, it's old and ancient Holy One. That's like what it means, like big, old, and ancient.
Mm.
And the songs that we sing now were like have been sung for like tens and thousands like of years.
Yeah,
like the same lyrics.
Yeah. That's how as I understand it, with a lot of those bundles, because some of them are really old, like really, really old. Like we have one, it's so old that the original one had a woolly mammoth tusk in it too. That was part of it because each animal gave something to that bundle. And at the time, it was even a woolly mammoth that gave to it. It was that old.
Did you hear like how we got the pipe, like from Buffalo Calf Woman?
My aunt was part how would I say it? I think she partaked with a lot of ceremonies down there. I've heard some of it, but I mean I've heard that name, I just don't really know. But I'd love to hear it.
It said that she was the one that brought civilization to us. Like she was the one who told us these ceremonies. Like she was like a really powerful spirit.
Yeah.
And she was the one who brought the pipe to us and told us the ceremonies to like the coming of age ceremony, just like a whole bunch of ceremonies to treat like elders and babies, like how they're supposed to be treated and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the original buffalo calf pipe is said to be in Chief Little Dog's possession.
Mm.
And my brother was actually in the presence of the pipe. They didn't unveil it because it's like so sacred, but like they were just in the presence of it.
Yeah, there's a pipe. Oh, geez, I can't remember the name of it in our tribe. I think it's called a long time medicine pipe. It's so old. I mean, it's so old that they don't even know the origin of it. It's that old. it, it, I don't know, but they still have it. And my buddy was just talking to me about it. He said he's seen it too. And that old pipe, I guess it's really big. That stone to it's big. He says it's not like kind of like how the ones are today.
Like for a bigger man.
No, they were just made big, like a big bowl. You know, it was big.
Mm-hmm.
That's what if I remember right, that's what he was saying about that one. He says, yeah, well, it was big. It's a big old, stone to it. It was a big one.
Do you like so chinipas are made from pipestone, and that's the red stone that my family has quarried.
Yeah.
It's located in Pipestone, Minnesota, and there's also a pipestone quarry in Ohio, I believe, or somewhere around there. And these pipes are actually found like all over America, and even down south, like South America, and they originate from these pipestone quarries. And these quarries were like sacred, and the Dakota was in charge or in control of the Pipestone, Minnesota quarry. But basically, every single indigenous tribe made a sacred pilgrimage to this place, and there was no bloodshed spilt like on this land. It was like that sacred. Like everyone just came here to quarry and get their sacred stone and like get their like make their pipe and then leave.
That's pretty cool. I mean, my friend, he makes pipes, and he was given the rights by an old holy man too, a spiritual leader. Yeah, he gave him those rights, and he still makes them to this day. But I remember when I first heard about pipes, he said that too. He says, yeah, that only place is in Minnesota to get that red pipe stone.
Yeah, the quarry, like the other quarries that have like quote unquote pipestone, that type of pipestone is really hard.
Oh.
Like it's harder than the pipestone in Minnesota. So like the special like pipestone, you would find it in Minnesota, like the real one.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I knew more about pipes. I mean, I've asked my friend about them, but I still feel like an infant when it comes to those. See, because my aunt was a pipe carrier, my sister's a pipe carrier. I mean, there's so many.
I'm just now a pipe carrier.
Wow. But those are really powerful things, They're really powerful. So one time, my father-in-law, he always keeps his put away, right? And he's always, and one time he was using it. It was in its bag and everything, but it was kind of left near a window. It wasn't in the window, just near the window. And these kids reached in there and they took it. Well, when they took it, they went up to Seattle. And I guess that's where their mother? Somebody in their family lived up there, but these kids were no good. And that's where they took it, and they went up there with it, and geez, they really had bad luck. I'm talking bad, like people were dying in their family. So they start asking them things because they seen it. Hey, where'd you get this? What'd you do with this? And what is that? Where? All these questions about how they got it, and they finally came clean, I guess. And they said that, they stole it from my father-in-law and they made him bring it back because of all that bad that was coming their way. You don't fool with those things. If you don't have the right to it, then you don't mess with that. And that, he's told me the story, and maybe someday he'll tell it himself. I don't want to tell his story, but the spirit that gave him that pipe was really a old, powerful one. So they really got it by doing that. You're not supposed to do that. That sounds.
Have you ever been?
Oh, go ahead.
Have you ever been to a Sundance?
Yeah. Yeah, we call them Okan. The Medicine Lodge is what we called them. Yeah, the Okan. Another guy ran a Sundance. With like the guy who I grew up with, he ran one, but he passed on in like 2003, 2004. But his kids have kept it going, and it's still there. And they have the big Okan up in Canada every year. There's quite a few of them back home.
Do they still do like the spirit dance on the third night, like your guys' Sundance?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Yeah, because I couldn't tell you the ins and outs of the Sundance. I don't know it that well, so yeah, I'm really not sure.
The last Sundance that I've went to, I got the chance to do what is that called? A peyote meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually pretty scary, if I do say so myself. Because it was the third day, and that's the night you dance with the spirits, like at night. And then we started the peyote meeting on like the last dance on the second day, and like I actually got sick. Like I couldn't keep the peyote down because for some reason they thought it was like a good idea just to like hand out handfuls of peyote, and then the only thing you can like take it down with is peyote tea, and peyote tastes disgusting, and it was dry, like you couldn't swallow it. And I'm on my second day of not eating, and I couldn't keep it down, but I was still like feeling the residual effects of the peyote when we were doing the spirit dance, and I just felt like the medicine like really brought me to that plane, and like I was like dancing like with the spirits.
That's crazy, see, because ours is not like that. We're not allowed to mix. We don't have peyote in our tribe. We're not allowed to use it. You know what I mean? Like we don't. Like if you're walking that red road, you can't even use peyote. Like with us in our tribe, it's against our ways. We can't do that. We don't have rights to it. We don't know how to use it, really. It's against our way.
To my knowledge, I guess the Sioux have been really close friends with the Paiutes, like Sitting Bull, like the beginning of the ghost dance movement.
Yeah,
that actually came from the Paiutes, like the people who did peyote and stuff, and that's how like that religion started with the ghost dance, was from the Paiutes.
Well, Voka, that was his name, isn't it? That Paiute that come around.
I'm not sure of his name.
I'm pretty sure it was Voka. I remember that from a long time ago somewhere. Who started that up? Yeah, that's really interesting though. That it's kind of sad too, the ghost dance. Just that whole time, they were so desperate to bring the buffalo back, and
the people who was murdered, like they were dancing for their lost, like their loved ones, to the point of exhaustion and like dropping like dead from the dance like itself. Like that's how bad like they wanted it back.
Jeez. Yeah, it's pretty sad that we have a story in our tribe, we had this bundle called a ghost bundle. And I can just hear my dog breathing. He's sleeping. This ghost bundle, it's not a Blackfeet bundle. It originally wasn't. It belonged to one of the Sioux tribes. And what happened was the Blackfeet went down and raided one of those bands, and they came back with that bundle. Well, they didn't know how to use it, so they sent another raid down after some time, and they said to get one of them and bring them back up, and we'll have them teach us how to use it. And so they did. They went back down, they raided, and they brought one of those men up that knew how to use it. And see, his Blackfeet were really, strict. I'm sure other tribes were too, but Blackfeet were really ruthless. Like, our ancestors are really... What they told him was, you teach us how to use this, or we're just going to kill you. But if you teach us, we'll let you go. And so that's what they did. And he taught him. He stayed with them whole winter and taught him how to use that ghost bundle. And it was still in our tribe the last time I could remember. I don't know if it was buried with one of those old guys or if it's still out there. But from what I understand, it was really how would I say it? A powerful bundle, but it was dangerous because of them ghosts. The way I understand it is they're unpredictable. But if you can get them to help you in good ways, they will. But you gotta really be, how would I say it, focused. You gotta really be, I guess it's really a serious bundle to have, that one. Well, they all are, but in particular, that one was kind of dangerous, I guess. But yeah, that come from one of the Sioux tribes.
It's like an altar?
No, a bundle. They're basically just a group. How would I say it? So a lot of times you see them wrapped up in hides, like rolled up in hides, but they'll have a whole bunch of sacred objects inside of them. Mm-hmm. And those, each thing has a song to it, has a, like when they open their bundles, like right now they're opening the thunder bundles, like I think they already did all that, and people were opening beaver bundles and things like that for the beginning of the year. But when they open them, there's a certain way that you go about opening them, and it's all methodical and in order each time, and all those songs got to be sung a certain way. Everything has to be just so. And that's how they use those bundles. That's why they needed to be taught, because they didn't know how to use that ghost bundle that they took. Because they used to keep bundles in the back of the lodge on tripods. Like during the day, they'd kind of let them hang back there in the air. And that's where they would sit. But that's how those Blackfeet got that one. I'm assuming they raided it. It must have been hanging there when they went into the camp, or they snuck in there and got it from inside the lodge. I don't know, but yeah, that's what those bundles are.
Yeah, the Blackfeet is closer to the Lakota than the Dakota.
Oh, is that right?
So, yeah. Because the Lakota are more western, and we're eastern South Dakota. So I mean, my mom's half Lakota, so I should, I guess, look into, Lakota history. And plus, they're more badass, because, they were the last ones to, give up to colonial rule.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of, how would I say it, storied, accomplished warriors in all the tribes, Sioux, Cheyenne, Blackfeet. We all had our greats, we all did. Mm-hmm. And you have a Chief Little Dog. You said we have a Blackfeet named Little Dog as well. And my friend, he's a part of this society, Crazy Dog Society, and he was telling me this story once. He said, you know how he got that name, Little Dog? I said, no. He says, because we're talking about names and then last names, and he says, well, I ain't gonna say the tribe because I don't want to offend anybody or anything like that. He said, but one of our warriors went down and he heard of this other warrior that was really prominent in that area of this other tribe, and he wanted to, well, basically see what he was made of, And so they meet up and they start, they challenge each other, and so they're gonna have their fight. But he had a spear. That Blackfeet had a spear, and I guess he got the best of that other Indian, and he was spearing him. When he'd spear him, I guess he sounded like a little dog whimpering when he hit that spear. That's how he got his name, Little Dog. It was because he made that good warrior, He reduced him to that.
Like, white people think that Indian names you are really honorific and all that stuff, but most of the time it's if you do something embarrassing, that's your name for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, natives were really, as they seen it, they're really literal. Really literal of how they name things. Like in our language, spider, Xawawakasi, that really just, if you translate it, it means ground deer. But really it means running with legs crisscrossing fast, but on the ground. That's a deer. They run with their legs crisscrossing really fast. But that's to call a spider, that ground deer, Xawawakasi.
Yeah, I've been studying Dakota, and verbs are the sense structure is made up around the verb. So action was really important for language.
Yeah.
It was using white vocabulary, the adverbs and the pronouns. The nouns were less important than the adjectives.
Yeah, that's really interesting. How in a lot of native languages, one little word can mean so much.
And it's really diluted when it's translated into English.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll lose some of the meanings to those. I don't even really know how it literally translate. Some of the words are, because they have to make up new words. Because we have internet today. Computers, they have to, our tribe used to have these conferences. I think they still do every year. Our 3 bands, they get together and they say, hey, do we need to make a new word for this or something? So they'll all agree on the new word. But I wonder that if we're so literal, because I don't know the word to internet. I wonder what they called it. I'd have to ask.
I feel we've also lost a lot of words describing more complex concepts than English can say.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
And that's what makes me sad. Was thinking about shit like that. It's just the knowledge that we lost.
Mhm.
And especially in spirits, I feel because of Christianity, they turned it into they made us all forcefully out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
They changed our perception forcefully through terror and genocide, but the reality that is that we should know is that the interconnectedness, the spirits and all that stuff.
For me, how I look at it is, it was a dark time in our history, for sure. It was, it's really unspeakable, a lot of the things that have happened. And it's sad, and it's just horrible. But today, they have their own way. Just like Blackfeet can't do peyote because that's not our way. But peyote's not a bad way. It works because it's their way, and they know how to use it in their way. Like for us, we couldn't do that. Or like, how do I say it? Like, because some of them Catholics, some of them that you talk to, like I know this guy, his name's Brother Richard, he's a Franciscan, he's a monk from Ireland, and if you sit there and listen to him talk, man, he talks just like an elder. Like the level of his understanding of spirituality is immense. I mean, he could tell you a lot of things. He could explain a lot of things that make sense to us in our way. What he always says is there are different channels to the same creator, is how he always explains it. So what I'm saying is the bad ones can take things and twist it and really make their ways like harmful. Just like a native that was using bad medicine could do the same thing. Right, you got your good and you got your bad with all of it, with each one. And in my mind, I think whatever your way is that you follow, I think they're to be respected even if you don't understand them. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not like trying to take up for or speak up for any of the atrocities that have happened to all natives or anything like that, but there is some power in their way too. They, because if you've ever heard these people talk about when they're being bothered by these bad spirits that they call demons, man, all they do is say the name of their God, Jesus. They'll say his name, and a lot of times those things will stop. So I know they have some power in their ways, but I think a lot of it's been corrupted,
Yeah, when I was 15, I was like lost, and I did try to join a church when I was like 18. It's like searching for something.
Yeah.
And I ended up joining a church, and for a minute, I did feel like the same way that I would feel like when I was in sweat. And then, like, it was also just like, I felt the interconnectedness, but there was like evil, like the money, like,
yeah,
and like the way they operated and stuff, it was kind of like not okay. Like, I felt like they really just wanted like people to submit, and like they were running operations in like a third world country, trying to like convert them into Christianity.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when there's money involved, it takes something away from spirituality, and I don't care what kind of spirituality it is.
Yeah, how are you preaching in about like being okay with like suffering while you're sitting in a comfortable big ass mansion?
Yeah.
Off of like the donations from the church. Like, you're weird.
Yeah, see, because it's not like that in our way. It's totally different from us, so I totally get what you're saying, because I've had thoughts like that too, like, why, wait a minute now, like in our way, you can't charge for any of this. Like, you would never charge somebody to come to a sweat.
Yeah, and like the way you're not supposed to advertise yourself either.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, the way you're supposed to hear from like a powerful medicine man is from mouth, like from people telling other people.
Yeah, you don't. They can only help you when you seek them out. They don't come to you. They're not knocking on your door or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's totally opposite in our way. You know, the native ways, I've noticed that across most tribes, we're all like that. Yeah, they can't, and you know, it's always, I've always kind of thought of it like this, like, that's part of your journey to have to go seek that out. Whatever they have in store for you, whatever's predestined, I guess I would say too, is another way to say it. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to find it. That's part of your, what you need to learn in this life, part of your journey. And if you go about it some other way, then you're not going to learn all those things that you're supposed to in this life. So I've always thought about it like that too, you know, like, that's, I think, why a lot of times, you know, I mean, that's why those, they don't come to you. We're not allowed to go door to door. Hey, do you guys want to sweat? You know, we don't do that. And the only way to get to a sweat is to be invited, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like try to like say, are you interested in talking about our Lord and Savior Crazy Horse or like something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to like make fun of, you know, because I respect these other ways too, even though I don't understand the things that they do a lot of times, because I wasn't raised that way. But it's kind of fun sometimes to point out the differences. I want to kind of keep it lighthearted because I don't, you know, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not trying to do that. I'm a pretty humble guy myself when it comes to all of these things because, like I said, I've talked to this guy, Brother Richard. He's, oh man, I can't speak highly enough of this guy. He's one of the better ones. And there was another one in our tribe that preached at our tribe, a Catholic that preached there too. And he was one of them that are really, really good people. And I mean, they are, how would I say it? They really are like close to their God. They're good people. Spirits are good. So I mean,
no, I would say the same too, because like I wouldn't be where I was today if that Christian couple didn't take me in.
Oh yeah,
like yeah,
I could see that. That
like if they follow, like I know like they can follow like their Christendom like in a good way, because I've seen it and I've also felt it, but also being educated in the atrocities that the church committed, it's confusing feelings, conflicting feelings.
Well, it's important for them not to forget those things. Yeah, because a lot of these people are, all right, well, I'll tell you one. I've told this before on my podcast, but I'll tell you. So my grandpa, his mom, she had gotten sick. So this would be my great grandma. My grandpa was born in 1922. So his mom was born in the 1800s, and she had gotten sick. Her and this other lady. So they had to go. Well, what they did was they went across the creek over to this guy that was he had a lot of medicine. He could heal, like a doctor. And they went to him to ask for help because they got tuberculosis. And in those days, it was, you know, pretty much a death sentence if you didn't get it taken care of, or there wasn't, you know, you were basically going to pass from that. So they were worried, and they go to him and they ask him for help. And he tells them, oh, I don't even know how to doctor this. I don't know how. He says, but, you know, let me go sleep and I'll see what they say. And that's our way, that's how they say go fast. He's going to go fast and ask those spirits for help. And he says, but you guys hang on. And so he went out and he fasted and he got that knowledge and he come back. It was successful. His fast went good. And they taught him what to do. One of those spirits taught him what to do to help them. And so he gathers everybody and he starts doing his doctoring like the way that spirit showed him. And he cured my grandma and her friend. They were cured from tuberculosis. It was totally taken away. But when he was talking about it, he was saying that spirit that came and taught me that, he said it looks like this. He just said it's that guy right there. And they were pointing. He was pointing to a picture of an image of their God Jesus. He was pointing to that. He says it was a man with a beard and he had brown robes. He was a white man. He wasn't, that's how they called him, as a white man. He said he wasn't like us. He says it was a different spirit, different race. But anyways, that's what he called him, and I don't think he really realized, that Jesus would have been what a Aramaic speaking Jew, I want to say, what he was. If I remember my history right. But that's what he was calling him. He says, yeah, that was from this man that taught me that, how to doctor them. And so these other elders were talking about it one time, and they were saying, see, it's rare that it happens that spirits from the outside of our way come in to teach us things and to help us, but sometimes they do. And this is one of those times that those spirits cross over to our way, and they can help us like that too. So, see, what I'm saying is, I think a lot of those ways are really powerful. It's just some of it's been forgotten or repressed or even like spoke against. Because I don't know, like how do you say that was wrong when it was your God that came? It wasn't anything else, and it basically taught him how to do this miracle of healing. So I mean, how do you dispute that? It's just crazy. It's really crazy. It's deep, man. Like when you think about it.
Yeah, I'm the Christian history. I do believe most of that stuff did happen, and my sister, my elder sister, because I came to her asking about this, and I was all like, so what do you think about this? And then she gave me this was from her mind, it wasn't a spoken truth or anything. But she said that she believed that Jesus Christ was a medicine man, just a really, really powerful medicine man, with their God, with God, I guess. And I guess that helped me understand.
Yeah, that's a good way to
Christian.
look at it. That is, I like that. Because what else, that's how we could understand that. Yeah, I could get on board with that. And I agree, because I think, a lot of the stories that are told, if they're written in books, a lot of times you lose the meaning through translations of the book, right? And not only that, but when they're written down, that person that's writing it, it's according to his point of view that's writing that in the first place, the original book, whatever it is. Whereas in the native way, those old storytellers that would tell those stories, there wasn't everybody, they could repeat 400 stories in a night, verbatim. They knew this stuff, and it was passed down and passed down and passed down, and you would have people around, because we were such a tight-knit community. We were all about community, when you had so many people close, that if they got something wrong, somebody could stand up and say, oh no, this part's wrong. Oh yeah, you're right. And then they'd tell it the right way. That's how we preserved our oral histories across the tribes, because it was, people make the argument that are not from our oral tradition. They say, well, what about that game of telephone? It's yeah, but in telephone, you didn't have one person said something to them, and then to the next person that they talk, you didn't have somebody standing there getting ready to correct what they're saying before they pass that on. That's what's missing in the game of telephone. In our way, there was always something there to make sure you were telling it right. You know, because our communities were really tight knit, and we didn't lie. There was no lying in our way. Like
The word that we use for lying actually was invented because of white people.
yeah, there was no lies. Like they didn't know how to lie. That wasn't a thing, you know.
Yeah, we call it shijata, which means forked tongue.
Oh. Gee, that's crazy. Oh, but that's it's really interesting when you think about all of those contrasts between the non-native ways and the native ways, because there is a lot of contrast between them. You know, they're almost opposite. Jeez. But yeah, those spirits, they don't know. They don't have a. You know, they're just spirit. There's no like that brother Richard just saying. There's multiple channels to get to the same place. It's not. You know, it's really not. Those spirits aren't like that. They don't. Like a Sioux spirit could easily come to me. A Blackfeet spirit could easily come to you. You know what I mean? Like they really don't have that boundary. You know, spirit's a spirit. It's kind of how I understand. I could be wrong.
I've never was explained that there's like human spirits, I guess. It was just always like there's spirits, like ancient spirits, like all around us and stuff. And I was told that if you committed suicide or died while intoxicated or didn't live like life as like a good Indian on the Red Road, you were stuck to watch, like you were chained to the earth and forced to watch your family forget about you.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, see, that does happen. Like, people do get stuck. That's why, like, you know, we have a lot of these ceremonies for them, like we'll sweat for them, or just different things that we do for them when people pass, you know? Because
like the 4 days?
Well, like, what usually happens in our way, like what I see today, is that they'll have a sweat for them. They'll all gather in that sweat and they'll all call in, you know, different ancestors or different spirits. I mean, it always starts with the creator first and it goes down from there but they'll call all these spirits to go help that one make it to the other side. Especially when they die suddenly or in a bad way somehow. Then those are the times you really want to send them help, you know, because if they don't have that help, say their family's not into that, or they just don't have that, and then themselves, they were never, how would I say, religious, or they never prayed or followed a certain spiritual path, those ones can get stuck really easy, you know. And what we believe is the longer you stay away from the creator, the worse you become, because of a spirit he sent down named Napi, or old man. He sent this spirit down in our stories, and over time he stayed away too long and he became bad. This is the trickster everybody talks about in the tribes. When he came to our tribe, he looked like an old man, like the creator, like almost an image of the creator is how he looked. But anyways, so we believe that the longer you stay away from him, the more bad you become. So your spirit has to make that journey over first. And once it, you know, gets its strength back and is strong enough, then they can come back and visit you, visit your family, you know, check on loved ones. And they do. They do that. They come back in dreams. Sometimes they send just subtle signs, like all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of rabbits, a bunch of butterflies, and it'll just be calm and like, what the heck's going on here? Why am I seeing so many rabbits? Why is there so many Usually that's a loved one coming back to say hi, because, you know, they got no other way to do it. That's just one way they do it. Or they sometimes do things like when
my dad shows up as a spider because his name is a Ktomi Duta, which is like the red spider.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. That's why the reason I'm laughing you say that, because I don't kill spiders. I
Yeah, no, you're not
I
supposed
tell
to.
my family, like, look, don't kill them. Let them out. Let those spiders out. Don't bother them. Don't harm. Imagine if people were scared of you just because how you looked, and then they decided to kill you. That ain't fair. So treat them the way you want to be treated. Always be good to them. That's what I always
We,
tell my family.
we were told that the Wakia people will come if we kill the spider, so like a storm.
If that was Traveling Spirit, she's welcome to come back anytime she wants, and she's a very knowledgeable young lady about her tribe and a lot of history surrounding her tribe and natives in general. So it's always a pleasure to talk to people that have a lot of knowledge and in history and whatnot. And I would encourage anybody else, from the different tribes, please come on the show. We want to hear it because I like hearing different tribes' ways and how they do things. It's interesting to me. So you Crow, you Assiniboine, Flathead, any of the tribes that are out there, the Sioux tribes, the Dene, Pimas, Papagos, Utes. If you guys have stories, and you can't forget our Alaskan Native brothers and sisters from Alaska. If you guys have any stories, please, by all means, come on. Contact me through email, which is lodgetales@gmail.com. Or you can join the Facebook group and send me a message there as well. It's just Lodge Tales. If you search for groups on Facebook, it's there. Or you can go to the website lodgetales.com and you can leave a message there as well. Also, I'm on TikTok, so you can find me on TikTok and follow me and send a message like that. I'll see because I don't have a private account on there. It's open, so you can come on there and send me a message and I'll get it and we'll go from there. But yeah, anybody that has stories, please reach out, because for one, it's important that we preserve our stories on something somewhere, our ghost stories and stuff, because I think that's important too. And it's also cool to just have your kids and grandkids down the road to be able to hear an old ghost story from grandpa or grandma. I wish I could have heard my grandparents' stories. I wish we had something like this for them and they were able to save them. So I think it's really going to be a good thing for people to reach out and share, but I also understand if you don't want to. And yeah, that's it for the show. So the next show is going to be another woman from the Blackfeet Res, and she has a lot of stories about UFOs and spirits. So stay tuned for that. Alright, till next time.